Although throughout the course there's been a variety of really important aspects that have been extremely helpful to me, if I had to pick one, the most important aspect of the course for me would be the hiring simulation and the job simulation assignment. The main reason why these two assignments highlighted the most important aspects from this course is because although I do have a lot of work experience, it was when I was a lot younger, and in these job titles it didn't really require too much consideration into obtaining the job. For example, for a majority of my professional career, I was able to just walk in with a resume or a call to apply. However, when it comes down to a lot of higher level jobs that aren't entry, there's a certain level of professionalism and certain expectations in terms of presentation and communication that need to be met in order to be taken seriously as a candidate. These assignments highlighted what it's like to draft a serious cover letter and resume tailored to a specific job aspiration, which took a lot more consideration and attention to detail than I was used to. The amateur simulations were also very helpful because it was able to teach me how to communicate professionally and effectively in a variety of realistic situations and scenarios that I could be presented with in my professional journey, with which is all aspects that I had not been taught before. Overall, considering the values and practice that both of these assignments gave to me, I think overall the aspects of professional communication and professional attention to detail are going to be the most beneficial to me in the future. And I also think that the hiring simulation assignment helped me to reinforce this, because when I was going through the mock applications to determine if an individual that I would want working for me, I would look for any discrepancies or errors. Every time I found something that could have been corrected but wasn't, it indicated a lack of care and incompetence, which made me not want to have them as a part of my team. So overall, it helped me to understand what real hiring managers' mindsets would be like when looking at my resume and cover letter in the future for other jobs. One goal which I hope to work on in relation to my career is prioritizing empathy. This goal was realized to me specifically after the Amatros simulations, where it put me in a position where I had to factor in a certain degree of empathy in order to best mediate the situation. And as someone who typically prioritizes effectiveness and logical thinking over all else, um, it it made me realize the benefits of learning how to empathetically relate to certain individuals that you're speaking with. And it also made me realize that it can significantly improve the situation and help reach an agreement or outcome in a much more positive and healthy manner. For example, during the Amatros simulations, some of the topics that were discussed were along the lines of specific employees not being treated fairly, dealing with professional bias in the workplace, and the one I want to specifically talk about is an employee not being able to accomplish their work or specific tasks due to the carelessness of the client. When I first started this section of the simulation, my immediate response was frustration, because the individual who was tasked with dealing with the client was unable to successfully move forward and was consistently complaining. It wasn't until I started speaking with him that I started to employ some empathy to understand the situation, when I discovered that the reason for the setback was that the client was not clear in their instructions and did not and gave a significant lack of information or details for outlines of what they specifically want accomplished. The professional solution to this was emphasizing with the individual and letting them know that their frustrations are understandable and it's not their fault. Next, I followed up with a professional email to the client asking to arrange a meeting to solidify their exact expectations. This is why, going forward with this course, I'm going to try my best to always remind myself to look at professional situations from an empathetic lens in addition to a logical lens, especially because I can definitely see situations like this happening in real life with future careers, especially if I aspire to be in a managerial role, because it's crucial for me to understand how to employ empathy in these situations, especially in order if I want to please both parties while still coming to a fair and respectful resolution. The first action and strategy that I'm going to be employing in order to reach this goal is by incorporating a step-by-step thinking module. If I'm able to remind myself to logically think about the situation step by step, then naturally the top of the process is going to be what makes them feel that way. surely that will cross my mind, and then that's going to implore me to look at the situation through their eyes. The reason why that's important is because when you're looking at things through a what makes them feel that way lens, it kind of removes a lot of the logical and straightforward thinking, where you're not thinking from a boss perspective, but you're thinking from a human perspective. So you're kind of understanding why they feel that way, or more so what led them to feel that way. Because I think that's a lot more important than simply reprimanding someone for not doing their job properly. Because if you find the root cause of that, for example, if they didn't have enough information to get it done, or there was another coworker that was like hindering their ability to complete their work, it's stuff like that that you need to like kind of understand where they're coming from and what made them feel that way in order to really solve the situation. So in that sense, it actually is more logical than anything to employ empathy. The next action or strategy I'm going to be using in order to remind myself to hold a more empathetic lens in a professional situation would be the listening method. With this strategy, it revolves around letting an individual talk and explain their perspective in the situation entirely before I formulate any opinions or work through any specific plans in my head. The reason why this is important is because it will force myself to look at the situation through an automatic lens of empathy by hearing them process their emotional tones, and by employing both of these strategies, I believe it will help me to achieve my goals significantly better than anything else. Overall, the reason why this one's important is because rather than coming to an immediate conclusion, you're actually hearing them out and understanding their whole process, like their whole mindset of what led them to believe that, and like how they got there. But yeah, that's all.